Test, test. It's a test, 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 test. Yes. Absolutely. Did I do it correctly? Yes! Hello! Yes! I hope you can hear me. I feel like I'm yelling. Test. Ooh. Turn that up. Yeah. Lots of sound on my thing. Let me see that face. Oh, I can see your face. Huh, and I cannot hear your voice, but that might be my fault. Might be my fault. Let me check. Might be my fault. Oh, okay, now I can hear you. Perfect. Okay, great. Oh, are you on a call? Well, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's fine. I'm not gonna blow up. Oh shit! Sorry. We're actually streaming right now, so I was about to blow up someone's spot. Okay, yeah, no, it's fine. Obviously, you're a member. There we go. All right. Hey, now our screen is on. So what I did this time was I remembered about 5 years ago I bought an overpriced iPad app. And it lets you use your iPad as like a second monitor. So now I can like see Audacity and OBS. It's not like an Apple thing. It's like a program that was made that they never made another version. It's called Duet, I think. Very nice though, because I live in an apartment in a very expensive city. So yeah, I think I got it. I'm not doing the stupid background this time, so that means you might get to see my cat. He's very big. He's a big bushy boy. Hey, at least it's clean. At least it's clean. It's a step in the right direction. Exactly. Today, no, Satan. Today is not that day. Also, this should be the last episode that we do together where I don't have my new fancy mic. So, I know it all sounds... It, like, sounds good on the recording, but it's like some, like... It's basically like some company saw... This is my theory. Some company saw that they were sold out of the Blue Yetis, and they were like, shit, we're gonna make like a carbon copy of the Blue Yeti, but it's gonna be like $30 cheaper, and it was a lightning deal on Amazon. I'm a great anti-capitalist here in Seattle, but yeah. I did, yeah. I did. Okay, cool. Interesting. No, because I had something playing and then I had it turn off. But I can't figure out a way to where the people who I'm on the call with could hear it, and then also me, and then also the stream. No, you sound great. Honestly, it's fine. No? I don't hear music. Just like, no. Yeah, it's good. It's good. But, so, I bought a fancy mic. We'll see. I don't know. Yeah, I have like 15 dongles and cables surrounding me. I'm in like a jungle of device. It makes my wife really happy. And she loves... This is the thing that I key up on telling dudes, and I'm sorry that I'm gendering this, but that's how all the dating shows are set up. But people love it. See, I just did it. I'm so like non-binary positive, but ladies love it when you have a bunch of cables around. As I learned in my 20s, they love it. They think it means you're smart because you know where all the cables go. It's so complicated. Technological. Thank you, sir. Thank you. This is a kink positive world. Reminds me, I watched that show Billions in quarantine. It makes me want to kink shame more than anything else in the entire world. I've never wanted to kink shame more. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely am a part of that one. Actually, one of the very first times I ever did like a podcast, I don't even think it's still on the feed, was basically just me and Ari talking about how we're sex negative, and that needs to be part of like the community. No. Sex negative is not about yourself. It's about how you think of other people. Very different. Exactly. It's the same. It's basically we said it, and then apparently people have been saying the anti-horny caucus on like left Twitter for years. So, not great minds think alike. What? Yeah. Yeah. I know. And some of the times that's wanting to be tied up, and some of the times that's wanting to tell people they shouldn't do that, or just shut up about it. I don't really care. I don't really care. I'm just trying to be edgy. But since we're already streaming, I was going to say we could talk about what we're going to talk about, but I guess that's what the group text thing is for. We're already talking about it, right? So, hi everybody. Welcome to Unpopular Front. This one I'm not going to cry on, I promise. But also, if I do, that's okay, right? Oh, thank you. Oh yeah, I sent it. I sent it to a few people actually already. So I sent it to his sister. So yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a thing for a while, folks. Sorry. Oh, it's awesome. I watched like the first hour live. Yeah, but it's crazy. It's crazy. So many people. Oh my god. Eat a dick. Eat a dick, dude. Seriously, go get some fried chicken. If that guy knows, I mean, it's pretty obvious if you know the left is best thing. It's fine. I get the point some people are trying to make, but it has been interesting to see, and this is a thing that I've talked about on the show a lot, right? About like internet culture and like the psychology of it. So much psychology, but like just like the way that sort of the incentives of these platforms can just like create just the most, like, honestly, in the end, it's just cringe. Like, it's really just cringy behavior of people, like, still doing the clout game, still doing the, like, I need to make sure that everyone knows exactly what my views on everything are, and if there's someone that I disagree with, some way they talk about something, I have to let it be known so I can, like, differentiate myself, sort of logic. And it's just... He was right. Like, Michael was right about how the internet, like, alienates us and makes it harder to connect with people as humans. Because then it just becomes, like, he had, like, he had, like, the guy from Dead Pundit Society on once, so that means he's a racist because, like stuff just spirals out of just, like, ridiculous proportion. And I'm so tired of it. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Ridiculous. Yes! That is not liberal solutionism. That is called, like, the entire, like, purpose of a lot of these mediums in the first place. Like, you're choosing to focus on this thing. You're choosing to focus on the fact that a guy who died, who brought all these people together, said the word cancel culture. Jesus Christ, you know? And it's so funny how sometimes I've just noticed this, and it's like it's a tick. And I think part of it is endemic to the left because so much of our talk is just always about critiquing. Because, like, the basis of so much of our thought is about critiquing capitalism or critiquing certain systems of oppression or whatever. I love your cat, by the way. Mine seems to not want to come on. Absolutely. Oh my god, yeah, I only saw them when they were fresh. But, oh, that's so, oh my god. Oh. Hmm. This is not, oh, it's obviously not the mother, because you said he. I mean, yeah. I haven't met a trans cat. I'm very in favor of it, but I haven't met it. So, yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That would be so good. That would be so good. What you need to do, obviously, is you need to get a cup that's the same color as a green screen. Done. There you go. Done. I know a guy here in Seattle. He has a skateboard ramp in his backyard that's a green screen color, so he can turn it into, like, the ocean. So, you know, why not, right? If you're lucky enough to be a homeowner, why not? Um, yeah. Absolutely. At Eminent Prof on Twitter. Yeah, totally. I agree, actually. Hardcore agree. There was a KFC, a Church's, and a Popeyes all, like, there actually was, okay, no. I wanted to, like, lie a little bit and make it better. Always get Popeyes. Popeyes is definitely the best. We have like a pretty good chain here, but it's regional. But growing up, there was a corner like 3 blocks from my house that was Church's and KFC. And gotta say, Church's. I'm kind of partial to churches for a very dumb reason, because that's what exactly. I'm a spiritual leftist. It's true. It's there was this like story. You know, when Ben Carson was running for president, every other week he'd have some crazy story about his past. Church's Chicken was the place where he told a guy, you should rob another guy, when he was waiting in line. Amazing. He told this story, who knows if it's real, where he de-escalated a situation by saying, you should really rob the other guy. Which, that doesn't sound real. I feel like if you're going to rob one person with a gun, you're probably going to rob everyone there with a gun. Like, you're only going to rob the doctor? I mean, they didn't even know he was a doctor. But, yeah, today on Popular Front, you know, we had our kind of remembrance period, and I'm still kind of, there are so many Michael Brooks memorial streams that I'm like halfway watched on YouTube, and, you know, I'm probably still working through it, but, you know, it kind of, in a broader way, really sort of solidified my desire to want to keep doing this show, and to try to, like, you know sort of maybe some things that I think Michael was unique in left media, and to help fill that void in any way that we can, but also be ourselves. You know, just copying someone is not going to be the best version of yourself, which is the best we can bring to the broader group, right? But it's yeah, adoption. So many. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Yeah. They're good, and I know sort of they just were friendly with the founder, or founding couple. I guess it's like a married couple where like the first two people started, and this just kept on adding on people. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, like having a good bench, and I think part of that we can do as people who consume left media, but also those who produce it, and it's sort of the more involved with it you are, the more acute the reward structure and the incentives are to shit on someone else in left media, right? So I think it's important that we find a way to where we can have a healthy debate, but still keep building that, you know, like not turn it into, I'm going to own this person who's in left media so much, and like I'm going to turn my whole YouTube channel into critiquing a very particular person who has a bigger platform, you know, like with, yeah, right. And like I get it, and the thing is, I'm trying to not like name names because I don't really care, like or more specifically, I I don't think that the thing I would want to produce, and I don't think the thing you and everyone over at Good Morning Comrade and a lot of other folks who I'm friendly with on a line, I don't think a lot of them got into doing this to, find the person who's a little bit, in their mind they would say less left, to like call out someone. Yeah, right? Like, not that, like, sure, like obviously, like, in this, that whole dynamic is something that I find very frustrating, because it's not, like, first off, like, it's not really, like, in general, I think it's good if you're going to describe a group to use the term that they use to describe themselves, right? So when you start to use a term that is not a thing that they describe themselves as, it becomes a broader term that you can just kind of apply to anyone and anything. It becomes very liquid, right? So, like, that's why, what? And sticky. Yes, and sticky. That's actually very important, right? It's like baby poop. Honestly, I handle it a lot. It's like baby poop, in that, it's vague enough, but it doesn't, like, it addresses a dynamic that maybe is real, but there's also, like, with the Strasserite thing, which I always found a little bit silly, and I found to demean and not be an actual effective way of dealing with, or, like, doing anti-racist struggle, right? Like, if... Right, yeah. You're right. Well, I mean, my... right, yeah. My reflex would be like, but I'm a Jew, but, like, I don't know if that would even help, right? But, yeah, like, that is... Yeah, right. Well, believe me, if we end up talking about Seth Rogen, Benny was going to be with us, and I know he's more involved in, like, anti-Zionist stuff, but it's, like, interesting. But, like, yeah, like, just in general, that urge to need to differentiate and find the people who are wrong, there is a way that you can address the thing that you think is the point of conflict, but the people are not wrong. The people are not the reason why these exist. And also, like, specifically with that Strasserite thing, which, if you're listening and you don't know, it's a way of calling, like, a socialist a Nazi, right? Like, it's... Yeah, the Brown-Red Alliance thing, which, like, is very suspect in the way it's been used pre-2016, let's say. It's been used a lot to, like, basically help the foreign policy establishment's goals in international stuff. So it's one of those things that, like, it's important to put it into context. But, like, I'm not that. And no one's ever accused me of that, honestly. But, like, I think it's important, though, that you think about it not as this person is that, but thinking about this idea. And this is a thing that I've always understood, and that maybe some people who would be associated with some things that I like Adolph Reed or something like that, right? Like someone who I think is a provocative and very interesting intellectual. Like, I thought the whole thing of critical race theory and sort of the modern way we talk about this stuff was that everyone's a little bit racist. That we live in a racist society, where we live in a gendered, patriarchal society, right? So then if that exists, then it's all going to come out in certain ways. So we have to be more kind and forgiving with each other, so we can deconstruct these things and not turn it into a shame moral thing, but turn it into a, how do we create the material situation and empower people to break through these things? Right. Yeah. You can't hold both of those thoughts at once. is actually. It is. And it's very not anarchic in particular, honestly. Which is kind of funny that you sometimes get this kind of thing, particularly from... Yeah, well, that actually then would make sense with a lot of anarchists. But just because they're libertarian socialists. No offense, anarchists. I love y'all. Y'all were fucking shit up here in Seattle, no doubt. They made rock mortars, basically like a potato gun that shoots a rock over a fence to shoot at the youth jail. That's why they're cool, right? Like, that's why I'm never going to be too mad at you. If you have a black flag in your Twitter handle, it's fine if you only have, like, maybe one other emoji. It's when you start to get all the flags, it's a little much. But, anyways, yeah, Jeff, so, first off, congratulations on your state being the #1 per capita COVID in the world, right? I mean... we're pretty near the top, so yeah, right. It's like kind of like how the like world sorry I'm interrupting you, but it's like kind of how like the World Series is just the National Baseball League, really, but yeah, right. I didn't even know that. For a second, I thought you meant Washington State, where I live. That would be very embarrassing. Yeah. Do it. Ah! Because it's about America. And it's because it's America. Right. What's worse than nationalism, really? I mean, nationalism is well, I don't know. What comes first, colonialism or nationalism? Right, like, you need the nationalism to keep the colonialism. Yeah. I mean, both are bad. The whole Washington football team thing that they're just like calling it that is just like they put their hands up. They're like, fuck, I don't know. Yeah, right. Like, I guess they're just gonna lean into it. I still think they should name themselves after like a DC hardcore band, but that's just me. Yeah. So Jeff, I kind of wanted to talk. Yeah, exactly. They like accidentally no. What they do is they like name it after like a famous person, and then that famous person does something really racist. I don't know. Yeah. The Washington Little St. James's or something thing. But no, it's fine. And honestly, this topic I wanted to talk about is something we've already kind of like messaged about, but I think it kind of goes into some of this sort of self-purification, I don't know, sort of some of these social dynamics on the left, and also sort of then how that can cloud us to maybe understanding the broader populace, and maybe how we just need to, I don't know, calm down, basically is what I'm saying. Let's calm down and let's stay focused. And unless you're building a like mortar, like rock mortar to shoot at the youth jail, that's obviously, don't calm down about that. I might even put in, no, it's big, but they were fucking shit up, which is pretty cool. But like, it's just like such a monstrosity to have like this giant youth jail in like an area that desperately needs housing. Like, it's just such an yeah. Sure. No. Go ahead. Yeah. 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 We did, actually. So what's going on is they're right now basically trying to negotiate what to do with the youth jail. And certain people in power are maybe starting to show a little bit more... they're like loosening on their desire to need a baby jail in the middle of a incredibly expensive city. Like, not a good look. Um, yeah, exactly. Yes. Oh my god. They could turn, and honestly, this is the thing that I keep on thinking about with people, maybe with us, maybe stopping using it and stopping construction, because like part of it is built, like a lot of it is built. So they've already spent like almost $1 billion on it or whatever. Like they've spent an ungodly amount of money on it, and this has been a key demand of a lot of the movements. I mean, honestly, it's been an even more key demand sort of before the George Floyd uprisings, and then a lot of that then became very focused on a thing that kind of reminded me of something that happened in Occupy, where it became less about the demands of what we're trying to change and more about we want to like release the protesters, which obviously we don't want the protesters to be charged. We want the sweeps to stop, obviously. But this is one of those more concrete demands, and there have been groups. There's been the No Youth to Jail group that's been around here, like organized for this, like for like almost a decade. Like basically for as long as the youth jail has been around, this group has been building steam, and like tons of folks support it. It's a very unpopular thing. And after the end of the Chop/Chaz, which ended with quite a whimper, there was a lot of fear, I think, here. Yeah, exactly. Drop a Chaz for a Chop. I know, it's hard. But, so that was broken down and very unceremoniously kind of tossed in the trash by the city. They built like a giant barricade around the police station, which was sort of the site of it. But, honestly, in my critiques of I don't know, not critiques. Like, critique might be too strong of a word. It's more just kind of like what I would sort of say if someone asked me what should we do with this, right? Like, yeah, right? Because I did like it. Bingo. Bingo. There you go. Very good, very good. Yes, yes. So, I was always wondering, like, what? Oh my god, I used to be able to do that whole 7 words you can't say on television because I was a fucking dork. What a bit, man. Honestly, George Carlin. Some people. Sorry, that reminds me. There was some Twitter thing about some people saying that George Carlin would sign the Harper's letter. And you know what I have to say? Who fucking cares? But, like, who gives a fuck? What, are you saying that if he did, it would make him worse? I don't know. I just found that kind of odd. Exactly, right. Dude's been dead for a decade. He made like 30 comedy specials. You actually could. And you know what? Mel Brooks, he's great. I'm a big Mel Brooks fan. And if someone wants to cancel a young Frankenstein, that is my culture. Like, there is nothing to me that is more my culture. They already canceled Woody Allen for very good reasons. Don't worry, very good reasons. I learned more about Jewishness from Blockbuster Video and my dad just sitting on the couch watching movies than I did going to temple. Anything. I didn't go to temple that much. Maybe that's why. I've heard of her. I don't know her. Mm-hmm. No, it actually means that anytime they say anything, you have to list all the things you disagree with them about everything. And you have to make a big deal about it so people know that you're always correct. Because if you're not always correct, what are you doing? sounds delicious. We've been using the air fryer like crazy. I think I'm trying to convince my wife to have us take it camping this weekend. It's so good. Right. Yeah. Fair enough. But tangent. But the thing is, so my wife watched part of our thing that we did last week, and she was commenting on how I did my little tangent things, and I was like, "That's my hook, right?" I don't know if that's true, but yeah, right. It's extemporaneous. But so basically, part of the demands. Oh, sorry, man, that was like so many tangents through because I'm trying to think. So the point I think I was trying to make was that I always wondered if we could find a more strategic site for struggle with the sort of energy from these uprisings, right? And to me, the obvious sites were either like a big construction site, which might have been really hard, or the construction site of the youth jail, right? And well, this weekend, right? Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a serious thing, right? But honestly, I'm not sure people are really thinking about that too much right now. Which is why I would love a more organized movement. That's why I'm a little bit more communist than anarchist, and not really hardcore of either, I guess. I don't know. Absolutely, and please, you can take my parking space, please, whatever you need. But so they are actually. It's a lot more dangerous than being a troop. I mean, being a pizza delivery guy is more dangerous than being a troop. So, and those are also heroes. But so I was kind of wondering, right? Like, are they going to have like after Chop broke down? I worried, like, is there not going to be a lot of like action going on? Are people going to kind of move on, just go back to freaking out about COVID, or just like turn it into a, well, this person who was at the Chop maybe like said he like called someone a Goomba or something, and we have to call him in for his anti-Italian racism, or like someone like once went to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and one of the people who likes the Red Hot Chili Peppers is a Nazi. Like, I don't know. Like, I wondered if that was going to happen. It didn't. That's very, very good. And there just was basically just a ton of people went down this weekend, marched down to the youth jail. And there was a lot of conflict. There was a lot of police violence, police riot, kind of, I guess is the way I would describe it best, just because it was very much unprovoked stuff. Like, kind of like particularly attacking people with like phones, documenting it. Two guys I know who are basically like the people who show up at it and just put their phone up and stream. Two of them got hit with tear gas this weekend, which I thought we weren't going to do anymore. Maybe we passed the 30 days that Jenny Durkin said we had, but which is crazy. But that's crazy, right? Yeah, exactly. Right? Like, which again, I still think was just because her Amazon order got delayed. Like she was just waiting for more tear gas to come, and they were using too much. But and people set. Exactly. Yes. Exactly. Which is ironic because the drone will not be affected by the tear gas at all. But so folks, I think made like there was a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of anger and tension, specifically about this youth jail for like years. And some people like made like a Molotov cocktail, threw it in one of the buildings, set it on fire. That's a real shame. It's awful. What are they gonna do? It was an unfinished site that, honestly, I really want them to turn this into condos. I feel like I'm seeing some sort of feeling like we need to burn this to the ground. But like, to me, I feel like that is the difference between maybe some different strategies, right? Like, let's think about this kind of metaphorically, right, Jeff? Like, and this is kind of how I think we need to kind of think about strategy going forward, and it's kind of a thing I want to talk about when we talk about sort of the abolition versus reform. What is reform in this context? What is abolition in this context? That we need to recognize the parts of the apparatus that, and of, let's say, the metaphorical building that we could maybe keep and use for a completely different reason, like how we can reshape society, right? So I think this is as good of a transition as any into the whole. Oh, go on. Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, I know, right? The optics are really weird. It makes me feel weird when I think about that. This was meant to be a prison. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know. No. I mean, that kind of makes sense, and also at the amount of money we waste on a lot of people being in prison in the first place, it's more expensive than giving someone housing and a job. You know? Right? Yeah. Yeah, but how am I gonna get money from my collect call racket? You know? Priorities. Yeah, exactly. Although I'm sure there's a way we could make we could grease a few palms, right? Like, bingo, right? Yeah. But like, seriously, no, like that dynamic is weird, right? Like, there's no doubt about it. The idea of saying people, especially if it's like a like low income housing, like the optics could feel weird. This was gonna be a jail, but then also, couldn't part of it? I mean, it is weird. It's If I had to choose between two apartments, I think I would need to get a pretty significant discount to choose to go to the one that was gonna be a kid jail, right? Like, obviously, I would prefer the place like where I live now that was just an apartment building, you know? Ugh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, hell yeah, man! Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a like prison themed condo, but like I do think there's an interesting like framework in that metaphor of do we burn everything to the ground, or do we take it and use it for something completely different? And I think that's a framework, and that I've been thinking about a lot with the recent uptick in, really, it's very specifically in the use of the term abolition, an abolitionist. I've seen a huge increase of people saying I'm an abolitionist as sort of a new, not new, it's really meant to call upon an old obvious, like to basically say like this is the slavery of our time. um it's trending, right? Like, I was thinking I wanted to name the title of this basically, is abolitionist the new democratic socialist? Like 4 years ago, everyone said they were a democratic socialist, and now everyone is, you know, I'm an abolitionist as like an identity versus like a form of praxis or like way of analyzing. I love ideas. I got to get a Dave Rubin soundboard. Right. And not just as left as possible. As, yeah, exactly. But part of that means something that is durable. And something that has enough mass appeal that it can't just win an opinion poll at the end of a presidential primary. But... Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I kind of see a similar trend right now. Yeah, that's my big boy Lenny. Well, that's the only time Lenny's nice to me. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, the dynamics between that and also the like social, and then the fact that I just, this is my general critique of social media culture, is that it turns that sort of social grouping, which is a very healthy, I would say, core function to being a human, it turns that into a market, right? To where you see what gets more likes and what doesn't, and then you sort of can game it out a little bit, and especially when then you're, let's say you do a podcast or you have a YouTube show or something, and then you can be incentivized based off of certain ways of doing it. And I noticed, and a reason why I kind of wanted to go to talk about this week was I was like, I basically, at this point, I use, like, half of the times I'm on Twitter, I just go on there just to ask questions that kind of, I think, will probably piss people off. Not in that I want to piss them off, but I just, like, want to just, like, see how much further they'll go if I'm just, like, a little bit off. If I'm just, like, I'm not, like, being like a contrarian or disagreeing with them, but I'm just like, yeah, but what about this? And it was with someone, I can't even remember who it is. I only know people from their like dumb meme display names really at this point. And they were basically saying that we need abolition. Reform cannot work. And then I asked, what about what I said was a lot of the policies that I'm seeing recommended by not mainstream, but like major abolitionist groups that are being shared. There's like some of these memes that just go around, the like anti-8 can't wait thing, and I was like, a lot of these things are reforms. Like they are non-reformist reforms, but they are reforms. They are not abolition, right? Like, saying that the police can't carry a gun doesn't mean you're abolishing the police, because police all across the world do a lot of the same shit that we don't like here, but they don't have guns. Or like cutting police departments by half, like the demands are here in Seattle, which would be gigantic, huge shift. And like, I gave those examples, and that person was like, I was very clear. I am not for reforms. And then I realized, like, oh, you're not thinking about it in like a winning way. You're thinking about it in a, I am the most correct way. And that, and it's very boring, and it's very not real. And it kind of reminds me of a thing that happened on your show, where y'all found that clip from Chapo, with Amber. She was being controversial, you know. Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, but it's basically, she was being kind of annoying about it. Like, she was phrasing it in a very flippant way, which when I understand when people do that about a thing that I feel very passionately about, it's annoying. But and this is a thing that, like, there's evidence of this in my city's politics, and I'm sure there's evidence of this all over, that it is not as simple as like, it is not as simple that, like, we had a moment where everyone's minds changed, right? And especially, it's really dangerous to me, I think, when I hear white radicals. I'm sorry I'm playing the ID Paul game or whatever, but, like, when white radicals just assume that all people of... I know I am, sorry, canceled, yeah. I'm a PMC neoliberal, yeah. There you go, yeah, thank you. But, like, it's always uncomfortable to me when I hear people just sort of essentialize an entire category of people, thinking that, like, they all think the same thing. And, like, it pissed people off a lot when Amber on Chapo basically said that, like, not all black people hate the cops. And I think obviously, like, the statistics are real, not FBI crime statistics. Let's not use those, right? But, which I've seen some, like, lefty people start to quote some of this stuff, and I'm like, guys, no, stop. But, like, you know, it's already in the PDF. Like, they already have it. It's, like, saved on their phone. But, like it's really important that we don't just assume everyone agrees with us, and that we also acknowledge a history, specifically around policing, that there is this dynamic. And this was a thing that was very real in the 50s and 60s during the Civil Rights era. That a lot of the critique of policing in that time period wasn't just police brutality. It wasn't just being victimized. It was not being allowed to join police departments. It was about not feeling like the police were doing what they were supposed to do in their communities. And, you know... Right. Exactly, right? Right. And being able to hold both of those thoughts in our head at the same time is really important, I think, if we're going to try to convince people beyond those who already have @ButtStalin4269 on Twitter, right? Like, although Butt Stalin is probably, like, pro-cop, because he's, like, an authoritarian. Sorry, bud. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're, and it's not just that they're good podcast hosts and they're good, nice people. They're good people, right? And they're, like, real people. And because it was like it was like the conversation was happening between the three of you, really. And that meant that there was a level of humanity, I think, that everyone was bringing into it. That's really important. And I think sort of this whole sort of like need to sort of just sort of posturing online can be very difficult. So I guess what I wanted to ask you about with this is kind of like, how do you understand this sort of politics and this kind of approach? Both the abolitionist sort of perspective particularly, but then kind of like, how can we explain, because I think the dynamic that conversation that I had, it was like two tweets, right? This interaction that I had where this person was like, I'm not for reforms in any way, even though all the abolitionist groups are calling for things that I'm calling reforms, are like, there is an impulse, right? And I'm seeing a lot of it right now, just sort of radicalism for radicalism's sake, sort of just, and a sort of de facto, like, this whole tactic cannot work. And kind of, because a big part, I think, of the left ever winning would be that we're going to have wins to build up power, right? And that's kind of how I think about things like cutting police budgets, right? Like, it's not really, like, I think of it as like a redistributive thing, right? So if we cut $90 million from the SPD budget and we put it into housing, that means that workers are going to have to worry less about housing and will be able to demand more at their job, you know, or like it'll give them just more space just to be human, you know? And I think there's sometimes this fear of reforms sort of like never really going anywhere, and kind of like, yeah, right. No, no, no. Like no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Hmm. Oh yeah. Hmm. Hmm. Most people, absolutely. Yeah. Right. Hmm. Yeah. No, no, no. Yeah. We all got our limits. Right. Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. No. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, but like but but like bringing it down to good bad, like anything that is not calling for the like execution and disillusion of your local department is just reformist garbage, is ridiculous, right? Like it is post honestly, that's the postmodern, because what you're talking about is just like actually like noting like where you are, right? And like I think this is a thing, and this, it's very Machiavellian, and like it's really important, I think, that we I have a habit, and I've noticed a lot of sort of anyone who I think is kind of radical probably has noticed this at some point, especially if they've gone through like enough moments of upsurge and then decline of interest, right? That first off, the liberals are always going to come in and try to muck it up. You shouldn't be like surprised. You should be planning for it. You should know that that's going to happen. Like I saw these people being like, "How did abolition now become cutting police departments by 5%?" I'm like, because we didn't do enough of the work to build that rhetoric or to sort of have a greater explanation of society at large, right? Right. Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they definitely did that at the youth jail, because when they threw those Molotov cocktails and those rock mortars, building's still standing. Um, bummer, guys. I know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, hey, honestly, right, yeah, right, and completely transforming it. And isn't that? Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, right. Like it's tainted in the way that like yeah, just like everything is, right. And like I mean, fuck, the thing that we use to make our, I mean, this is about as like big brain, and I promise I'm like actually not stoned at all. This is like I mean, like we use the ground up liquid of dead dinosaurs to make our cars go, right? Like exactly, and it's killing our future. That's not great. But like we are constantly using the old, which was imperfect and not preferable to humans, and to humanity as a whole, to build that better society and to build that better thing. So yeah, like I'm definitely, I don't even, it's not really a choice right now of, Ben, do I get to decide if we burn down the youth jail or we turn it into like housing? Like obviously I'm not the one who's going to make that decision. But I think though that this kind of gets to a thing and kind of how I think about abolition. Oh, okay. 1 second. We're gonna take a little break. Gonna take a little break. No worries. Hello, how's everyone doing? Yes. It's live. Everything's live. When everything's live, shit happens. Oh, that's a good boy. Oh, Lenny, you're such a good boy. Still live? Shit's still happening. Look at that big boy. Look at that good boy. Ooh, yep. I bet you're killing it on Twitch right now, bud. Oh, look at that big boy. Look at that big boy. Oh my goodness, what a good boy. Yeah. Gosh, Lenny. People are missing out. This is the real shit. Good boy. Lenny, you're so cute. Hey, bud. That's a good boy. By the way, if you're watching, watch My Pregnant Husband on TLC. Previous guest on this podcast was the pregnant husband. And not a big deal. Not a big deal. I did kind of make the connection happen. Not a big deal. Was on the Unpopular Front YouTube channel how they found Ari. Not a big deal. Kind of wanted a shout out from TLC. I wanted them to name it The Unpopular Front Presents My Pregnant Husband. Because I was the one who did all the work. I did the work! Sorry, I'm just talking to myself doing a dumb bit. Bad boy. Oh, that's real scary. Yeah. 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 Yeah, exactly. Well, I did get to show whoever's watching my cat. I moved my webcam directly up to him, and he looks like he's shining. But so the point I was trying to make though with the what do you do with the youth jail metaphor, right? Is and kind of maybe I'm not read up on it. Like maybe I'm viewing it in the wrong way. But to me, in general, the point of radical politics, to me, of socialist politics, and I would think, and from my understandings, particularly of like the 19th century abolitionist movement of abolitionist politics, is about reshaping society and taking structures and institutions that exist and completely changing them, right? Or at least like having these roles that particular things may hold, and then giving it a different meaning and a different purpose, right? So to me, that's kind of why, and maybe I'm not super radical on this, or I don't posture as like super radical on this. That's why, like, I think cutting police budgets is great, and I think that is going to be the way you get to whatever abolitionist future you're looking towards. And I think a big problem right now And this is something that I think we dealt with Medicare for All, as you mentioned something, and with the phrase socialism. Honestly, like, fucking, I still think about how Sean McElwee used to have socialist happy hours. Like, what the fuck, dude? Dude, God, I don't know why he bothers me more than the Vox guys. Honestly, yeah, exactly. Like, that's just what he is. Yeah, like, it's fine. You're just like a, like, left liberal. It's fine. Yeah. Yes, honestly, yeah, and that's what I'm afraid of with the abolitionist thing. Whenever anything becomes trendy, right? And right, yeah. Like, I'm an abolitionist, but in that I mean that there should, like, I really think the, like, armed cops is, like, a really good test, honestly. Because again, there are police that do pretty much the same bullshit that we also hate cops for here. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, but, like, I think this is a dynamic that is really important, at least for me, to understand it. So it's not so much that I have a very particular goal, and anything that is not that goal is not building towards that goal. It's just like we need to have, like, a healthy strategic relationship with achieving these further goals. And yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And universalist, right? It's both. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think of the two examples I think of in this are the difference between tearing down the statues of the Tsar in the October Revolution versus tearing down Saddam's statue in Iraq, right? Like, you know, exactly. Do it. Yeah. But we shouldn't be afraid of utilizing spectacle. Exactly, right? And that is very important. And that is something that I think could, I don't know. I feel like the whole statue thing is not a big deal anymore. I'm sure Trump will try to turn it into something, but right. I mean, anyone who lives in, like, an old southern city has dealt with that in some point, right? Yeah, but sort of, yeah, like, we need to wed the, like, particular, the universal, and the symbolic all at once, right? And I think some of the times it's much easier to think about your own self interest in achieving that, meaning that I want to appear as the most correct person versus I want to try to appeal to as many people as possible. I just keep thinking about this in like the way some people got so mad at Bernie for describing the New Deal as like sort of related to socialism. But the thing, I wish he done it more. And also, you're fucking wrong. Like people who say that are wrong in that. And this is a thing I'm learning about. I'm currently very slowly reading the new Thomas Frank book, The People. No, that's what it's called, and it's about the history of populism, but really about anti-populism more broadly, right? And yeah, sure. No, I mean it's tied in, but yeah. Sure. Yeah. So it's basically that, that we can be like using the example of like Bernie sort of trying to tie New Deal accomplishments to socialist politics, right? Like a lot of these are things that were being fought for in the late 19th century by anarchist, communist, populist, laborist, however you want to describe them, left politics people. And the ruling class knew this then. They already were basically, describing this as, the mob gone mad, or the idea that, these expectations are too, these people don't know what they're doing. They're going to lead us to ruin. Tale as old as time, right? Right. Yeah, exactly. Those goddamn grok eye bros online, they're bullying me. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that like a lot of these things take time. And a lot of these ideas will sort of come in fits and starts, and you might want a particular thing right now, but you also sort of recognize it's about building a movement that can last the like span of time, because like I'm sure there were people. I mean, fuck, I remember when I talked to Harvey K, and I know you did too. Love him. Sorry, I just burped. Sorry, Harvey. It's like fuck. Thomas Paine had an idea that was basically like baby bonds and social security, like back in like in the 1700s, right? But it was popular. But here's the other thing, though. Just because he had the idea, and even if it's popular, it didn't happen. Just because you have a good idea, and just because you're the most correct, doesn't mean it's going to happen. So it's thinking about that process that I think is really important, and something I really want to like keep in mind in this sort of, in any political context, because all of these things are related. A win for defunding the police department, and well, very specifically, if the money goes to help people and to specifically help working people, can be very helpful for the broader labor movement if we do it right. But it also could be really bad. Like we have to do it right. Yeah. 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 Sure. Right. Bingo. There you go, right? So it's basically, if you love yourself, you're always correct. So... Right. Right. Yeah, and that is so much more important than, yeah, than having the most, yeah, most correct. It's a temptation I have all the time, you know? Like, I definitely get that, you know? I was a, believe me, I was a music nerd for ages. Like, I love judging the shit out of people liking the wrong David Bowie album, you know? If if someone says, "Oh, my favorite album is like Let's Dance," it's like, you know, it has a few good songs, but like, come on. One of his best albums was the one right before. You know, it's not a big deal, but Scary Monster's underrated. But like, very much so. Sorry, it's just a fact. Ashes to Ashes. Who can do a song that is a sequel to your biggest hit a decade later about the character from that dying from heroin? Like, that's pretty cool. Yeah, exactly. He's a junkie. He came back though, and he's a junkie. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, and speaking of the perpetually correct, we don't have a ton of more time, but I kind of just wanted to touch on this because it's like super timely, just because it's like a thing that happened like yesterday, maybe. And I know you're not as involved in this because you're not Jewish, and you kind of, as an American, don't really have to be. Is the question of Israel-Palestine, right? And Seth Rogen, a guy who I've been compared to a lot in my life. Just when I had I don't know, I guess I had a similar energy. I feel like that's just anti-Semitism. That's like anti-Jewish stoner Semitism. Well, you know, some people, you know, all they see is the beard. All they see is the beard and the schnoz. But I don't even really have a big nose. I have my mom's nose. But, you know, definitely. My wife has a bigger nose than me. She's 100% Scandinavian. You know? I'm a liar. But, so he, in an interview with Mark Maron, talked about, and both of them talked about something that has been growing and has been, I've kind of, you know, always had a lot of issues with the state of Israel as it is currently constituted, right? And recognizing the particular way that Jewish education and sort of certain projects have really worked, and particularly worked on older generations, to basically build legitimacy for support of the state of Israel and basically all of their policies. It's been a thing that I have definitely it's very cliched, but I have been to Passovers where we got in fights about Israel. You know, like it's a tale as old as time, and yeah, exactly. Everyone's seen that, right? You know, like I remember I had a uncle said we should turn all the Middle East into a parking lot, and I was like, I don't think so. So you know, it's a thing. It's a thing. But in this interview, Seth Rogen said that he had, as he's gotten older and has been more exposed to Israel and has actually visited and has learned about the history, he's really recognized the way that in his Jewish education and just mainstream news in general, the whole story was not really told. He talked about how, you know, like, he realized after the fact how like the way the story was told to him was as though, I think the metaphor he used was like, it was as though there just was a door left open and we could all move in, you know, as though there was no one there, right? Which is a part of some, I mean, it's exactly the same thing, actually. It's settler colonialism. Exactly, right? And that context is something that, you know, has always, there have been people since before the establishment of it as an independent nation state that have been critical of Israel or of Zionism for that reason. A lot of them, like the Bund, look up the Bund, look up communist Jews in the Soviet bloc, like that's a thing. Yes, because the Ottoman Empire existed, and there were people who lived inside the Ottoman Empire. You know, weird. Right, exactly. And you know what? There were Jews there. There were Jews who lived inside the Ottoman Empire. You know, but it wasn't the simplistic. Believe me, it's kind of the thing. We are a wandering people, but no, it's just true. It's a fact. I don't know. Like, yeah, like there. I mean, for like 1,000 years, there have been Jews from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean, like from Morocco to China, like duh. But like, so Seth Rogen, no, it's fascinating, and it's, you know, it's helpful, and for me, honestly, it helped me sort of have a greater understanding, actually, of America's settler colonial past by learning about these sort of settler colonial approach and apartheid policies of the current, you know, thing that calls itself Israel, right? And Seth Rogen made a comment that is very much in fitting with a growing number of particularly millennial Jews who are pretty much completely critical of the state of Israel and believe not just in like a two-state solution where the Palestinians aren't treated poorly, but they still don't have like water access, you know, like they will, you know. And I don't know what Seth Rogen's exact plan for the Middle East is, you know, but he probably doesn't have one. But like a lot of people who, you know, they believe that this should be like a multi-ethnic, multiracial social democracy, which is, I mean, kind of, yeah, right? I mean, it's the ANC. I mean, the goal of people who sort of want like was that a final solution? I'm sorry. No! God. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. But, sorry, I'm real bad on it. Yeah, like a solution to this problem would be something more akin to that, which would be like an actual democracy in the Middle East, not just what they say it is. And yeah. Right. Right, yeah. So I did see some reactions to this that kind of go back to our theme of the perpetually correct, which instead of being like, oh wow, this is probably the most prominent Jewish celebrity to be, like, especially someone who like identifies as Jewish, very much so, and is very much kind of like like a sort of archetypal kind of person, could what I don't know. I'm thinking of like millennials. I don't know. I'm just thinking of like millennials, but I guess what it is it's not so much highest profile. That kind of creates like a hierarchy that isn't really necessary. It's that it's someone that you wouldn't think of as having like a very strong opinion about this, right? And he spoke about how he felt afraid of noting these things because of the history of anti-Semitism and because of the education and because of, as Norman Finkel Finkelstein, the truly canceled man, one of the world's most canceled men, he spoke about the Holocaust industry, and obviously he believes that the Holocaust happened. The Holocaust was a world historical tragedy, but he was commenting on the ways that imperialism and capitalism can use particular tragedies to enforce other geopolitical and economic ends, right? So, yeah, actually, yeah, on this he is the most correct. Especially if you piss off Alan Dershowitz that much, you're doing something right. I have to say. Yeah, exactly. But, wait, sorry. Something's being funky. Yeah, no, I'm just checking one thing. Just thought my recording might have been funky, but I don't think it is. It's just, this thing I'm using for my, Okay, the recording is still fine. I'm just not going to worry about it. I think my iPad just was like, I'm tired. Yeah, so, yeah. Some are, yeah. And I just found that instinct really fascinating. And it's a thing that I've heard, right? And it's a thing that I'm sure needs to be worked out in some way. But the dunking is, why didn't you know about this already? Why are you so self-centered that this is about your experience? And this is a thing that happens a lot that is hard to work out, and I think it's obviously it's super important to obviously this conversation about Israel-Palestine can't just focus on American Jews, but strategically American Jews have owned this conversation completely for generations. So internationally, I mean, literally American Jews, specifically because America gives so much money and because Jews in America tend to kind of have identitarian deference on this topic, right? You're like, well, you're Jewish, so you would understand. Right? I mean, that's what Ben Shapiro does all the time. So there's this line of critique that is basically why does it take a American Jew or someone with money to have to come to this perspective? And instead of being this is great, we have someone who's popular, likable, and says exactly what you want someone to say. He compares it to apartheid, you know? He's not a member of JAVP yet. If you push him away, he might not be. But if we're welcoming, he could be, you know? Yeah, totally, right? So, that instinct is that kind of, individual thing, which I think sort of, it's almost like it's going to your id instead of your superego, right? I know Freud is also canceled, but, just that, basic idea. Yeah, right? What is that dynamic? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. He's where you want him to be. At least going very quickly in the direction that you're asking for, right? Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Minneapolis. I was going to college in St. Paul when he first got elected, so he's a great guy. Pretty like left for a Democrat. Yeah. Hmm. He was. He was. Yeah. What the Yeah, he was. I mean, he's a. I mean, interesting thing about him is, he is. He's a DOS. As they say, American descendant of. It means American descendant of slavery, kind of which I think is a helpful term, because in general I think it's dangerous to just yeah, it's precise, it's accurate, right? And he talked about sort of his family's sort of leading into Islam, and the way that they found some liberation in NOI, but they eventually moved just to more basically mainstream, not racially segregated or based Islam, right? I mean, kind of similar to Malcolm, not as radical, obviously. Go on, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely. I have a copy of Black Power by him right on my shelf over there. I should probably read it when I go out of town. Go on. I for the it's I don't think, Abe. I don't. It's like a no, no, no. It's the American Israeli Political Action Committee. I'm thinking they wouldn't put Palestine in their name. No, knowing them, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and he kind of like not stole it, but it was he bought it. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. He's like a cold piece of toast that like you spilled a little bit of water on, you know? Yeah. Oh, rubbery. Very rubbery. Yeah, and yeah, they totally torpedoed Ellison. Yeah, that might like be probiotic. Yeah. Yeah. But like yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. it's what's happening. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. No. And I mean, this was a thing that, I mean, like, you want to see how people can weaponize identity in cynical ways. Look at how people use Zionism, man. I mean, it's ridiculous, and like that'll get you real like that'll get your defenses up about that real quick. Oh God. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And so then that means those of us who maybe have already known that for a while need to recognize the bigger forces at play. And that's why, like, I think we need to welcome someone like Seth Rogen and apparently also Mark Maron, but that's not a surprise to me. Um, Being able to say, like, yeah, Israel kind of sucks. Like, that's good. That's helpful, especially if they're like more aggressive seeming, right? So, yeah, exactly. No, and that's enough. Hmm. Hmm. No. Yes. I like Mark Maron, so yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, no, for sure, no. Yeah, yeah. He's actually not even a real fascist because he's such a loser. That's my dig at him. He can't. Yeah, right. He can't even stick to a corny aesthetic. Every fascist group has a corny ass aesthetic. So, he's just a guy in a suit. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you eat those Swanson dinners. That's where he made all his money. Yeah, no, I think all of these things are connected, and it's kind of like the theme of the show today is that, like, being able to recognize that people are not just their worst take, and also that people are sort of, yeah, no, I am not. Well, again, I am perpetually correct, so not a problem. But yeah, I think it's really important that we think about these things and we build on these things and we don't get pissed. Like this reminds me of the thing that was happening in Portland. I saw some people kind of complaining, like, "Oh, it took until all the suburban moms came out that anyone gave a shit. We've been out here every day fighting fascism." And like, first off, thank you for your service. I didn't say not thank you for your service. Yeah, sure. I mean, totally. Like, yes, I will give you weed or something. I don't know. Um, but like, like we should be happy that it's breaking through at all, and the fact that we have people who are not in a, or at least don't present as like in like an extreme sub culture, building a wall of their bodies. Like, and it's important in moments of change that we note these as opportunities, and that these are pieces to build up to that revolutionary change, because in a way every revolution is built on reforms. You don't know it kind of until after it's happened. you know. So it's that's kind of where I'm at with that, Jeff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Mm. No, that's you basically said historical materialism. So I think that's good. I think that's kind of the point. So I'm sure someone's going to say I'm wrong, and you know what? I'm perpetually correct. So incorrect, sir. Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, all of you out there, yeah, you're always like, there's so many complicated things, and you can't know everything. Why don't you just be like me and just know everything I know? Yeah, all to tell you, all to tell you. Tell me how to build like a water purification system in Tibet. Easy. You build it. There you go. There you go. Actually, this reminds me. I feel like we were getting too serious. That's always been one of my favorite things that people do when they're like doing like online discussions, and they're like they're it's not my job to teach you, and it's not my job, or they say like use Google, which is funny because like Google is not exactly a unbiased source of information. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or that has like its search results are weighted very particularly based off of what gets the most clicks, and what gets the most clicks are probably going to be certain things. Like the whole way it's set up is not exactly always going to give you the correct answer, right? But Jeff, thanks so much for hanging out with me this evening. You're one of the world's most busy podcasting men who's also trying to not die. You don't want to die, so don't open schools, folks. Yeah. Yeah, please, please. So, yeah, this has been Unpopular Front. Everybody, thanks for listening. You can find more episodes at unpopularfront.com. It's on iTunes, it's on Spotify, it's on Google Play, Google Podcast. I think that's a thing. I think it's on there. Google Yes, yeah. Check out Good Morning Comrade with Jeff and the whole swampy Cajun gang down there. I don't know if y'all all identify as Cajun, but I think if you live there, Shellnation. That's just the city you're from, right? Okay. Okay. Good show. Absolutely, man. I love it. I love it. And we're dealing with the time change, okay? And I think we can try to do this like I don't know. Yeah, make it work. All right, man. All right, I am going to stop the recording and the stream. Oh man, we that was great, buddy.